Hello and greetings from Iceland. I have to start by saying, what a day, and our problems are not over, although the eruption seems to be. And after I finished to make my announcement video, I loaded up the car in a hurry, hit the road, and when I was by the town boundaries, I got a phone call. It was a friend of mine that lives near the city and shot those photos when the eruption started, telling me that I could just as well drive 1,000 kilometers to watch this barbecue, because the eruption was fading out so fast yesterday. But this is how it looked 80 kilometers away shortly after it started, with Reykjavík in the foreground. And I was hoping to get images like this, but not this time. So I decided to focus on the information, get this update online today, since the eruption did hopefully teach us a lesson that we needed here in Iceland. Like here we have this steel pipe that is responsible for keeping all houses on the Reykjanes Peninsula warm, and this is how we heat our houses, with hot water. The power plant extracts super hot fluids from deep down, and they are used to heat the fresh water that we pump into our ovens. And somewhere around 10% of all houses in Iceland are here on the peninsula, and all of them rely on this one steel pipe, meaning that if this eruption was a bit larger, and if lava would have surrounded the area around the power plant, around the lava barriers, there would have been no quick fix or no safe ground to place a new pipeline. But that is what we are trying to do now, and the plumbers are working day and night. And until they succeed, there is nothing preventing 10% of all our houses to freeze. That would ruin the complete hot water grid, both the outdoor grid and the indoor grid. The Grindavík event alone left 1% of the nation homeless, and 10% on top of that is simply too much. So when the lava flowed over the hot water pipeline yesterday, the civil defense had no option but to declare an emergency on the complete Reykjanes Peninsula. Electric ovens were sold out in an instant, and all wholesale and retail stock in Reykjavík was sold out as well. The local water storage tanks, they emptied last evening, and smaller communities like this one on the edge of the peninsula, that's where the water pressure dropped first. And after that, this is only a countdown until the pipelines and hot water ovens freeze over, meaning enormous damage. Like last night, it was minus 15 degrees. And as that was not enough, the Svartsengi power plant, it produces electricity as well, and they are connected to the national grid. This pylon was a temporary solution to get the power to the grid above the new lava barrier. The pylon survived, but something got damaged there, so the power plant got disconnected from the national grid as well. And as a result, the national grid had less capacity, so the energy supply was reduced to companies with contracts that permits such a reduction. But the electricity problem was, however, fixed last night, so that part of the energy production is back to normal. But this shows us that this little splash of lava, it had a big impact nationwide. So this is all about bad preparation, and this was not acceptable performance. But it's still very cold outside, and the water that the energy company has to get to their customers is around 80-90 degrees hot, and to get that flowing through a cold pipeline without damaging it even more, that could be a major problem. And I don't see how it's going to be done in this cold. But let's say that it works out. The next step will be to pressurize the system again and hope that it's not leaking. So it is just too early to say if we got away easy from this eruption. We got rid of most of the pollution to the south this time, but interaction between groundwater and magma produced a plume of dark steam every now and then during the eruption, and that's something new. We haven't seen that before. But the biggest surprise yesterday was the speed of the magma, mainly because it found itself a very suitable channel in the landscape that made everything easier for it to move fast. And to make up for the lack of my own footage, I am leaving a link to a longer version of this scene shot by a local media company, and they did a good job there, so check them out. This was absolutely the most photogenic moment of the day, and shortly thereafter, the pipeline blew. And I was actually there a week ago, 2 days in a row, where I did a lot of filming above the barriers, and I had just finished to process those files when this new eruption started. Some of those shots were meant to be the after shots, or after the lava barriers were made, but today I can categorize them as before shots, or before we got this new lava field there. And in fact, video files there are just piling up on my hard drives. But it's a good thing because the landscape is changing fast, and when things cool down, I can start to do some edit and make some videos where I can show you the landscape before and after. And I actually started to film this area the same day I got a drone that could handle the rains, or in 2021, because my idea from the beginning was to document the changes in the landscape. So in some cases, I was the last person to film certain parts of the landscape around here. But there is no end to this inside, since we just learned that this cycle is most likely starting all over again. It is estimated that 10 million cubic meters came up from this magma chamber, or magma sill this time, and it seems as the inflow has started again, as we expected. Or as I mentioned just a few days ago, until this constant inflow into the magma chamber stops, we will get eruptions there every few weeks. And this is unbelievable to witness this. This was the 3rd eruption around there and the 4th major event since November 10th. 2 of those events included rifting under Grindavik, but that wasn't the case this time. And it is just a guessing game to predict how the next events will look like. But I have to say that the Met Office, they got the prediction very accurate, both for the location and the magma quantity. And since this magma storage is actually quite small, we are stuck with those small and frequent eruptions. Some of the shortest eruptions in the history of Iceland, actually. And I was a bit frustrated to miss this eruption, but it has been shown that we only get good footage for the first few hours, and I live up north, over 400 kilometers away, but actually thinking about to move soon, closer to Reykjavik, to be closer to all of this. And I will make sure that I will be in Reykjavik or nearby before the next eruption. Since if the Blue Lagoon will reopen between eruptions, the car park there is the place to be, waiting with the cameras. And I actually got a question in the comment section yesterday, is it over for the Blue Lagoon? The short answer is no, but it could be. Like, all we need is one bad eruption, and it's over for the power plant, and no power plant, no Blue Lagoon. And even though we have seen those lava barriers do some good, they will only do so much. Let's just be realistic about that. Like, beside the craters, this is all we have there. And we just have to imagine the lava stream from yesterday come over at this location, a bit further south than yesterday. And after this wall, there is nothing stopping the lava, just a steep hill straight down to the power plant. So we got lucky with the location after all. And I look at this pipeline thing as a man-made disaster. So to be realistic, the infrastructure on the peninsula is hanging by the thread, and the Blue Lagoon is the least of our problems. This is the only producer of hot water on the peninsula. The other geothermal power plant that we have there, it produces electricity only, so if we lose this power plant, there is no quick fix. And the electricity grid, it doesn't have the capacity to handle electric ovens in all houses. So never before, since the foundation of the Republic, have we been faced with such challenges and uncertainty. 1% of the nation was left homeless in November, and now we have another 10% without central heating, and we already see people with young children moving in with relatives in the Reykjavik region. But it is, however, business as usual on the peninsula. It has to be like that. The Keflavik International Airport remains open, from where it's only 30 minutes drive to Reykjavik, and there is a separate hot water grid there, from separate sources, so there are no problems there. Hospitals and retirement homes in the Keflavík region are kept warm with electricity, so we are still all fine, but only for a few more days. But the frost is expected to decrease in the next few days. It's very cold today, so this operation pipeline is perhaps the biggest engineering problem that we had to solve ever. There is so much at stake, so the eruption might be over, but our troubles just started. And I will of course keep you posted. As usual, there are webcam links in the description box and links to news in English, and of course links to other video sources than my own, so you can see the complete picture. And with that, I'm sending you best regards from the volcano island, Iceland.